Yeah, live in 10 seconds.
Great.
Yeah, we are live now.
Great.
Thank you, Aditya. A very good afternoon to everyone joining in. This is the team from Nasscom and Red Hat. We've just started this webinar and we're going live. Please bear with us for 2 minutes while we allow the rest of the attendants to join in, and then we will begin. Just a reminder for everyone who's joining in, we will have the chat window that is active. So as we go through the discussion, please feel free to post your questions in the chat window. And the team here will do its best to answer your questions as we go along. We'll give the participants another 2 minutes to join in and shortly begin this webinar. All right, a very good afternoon to everyone. I'd like to welcome you very warmly on behalf of Nasscom as well as Red Hat to the first in a series of 3 webinars, which we will be hosting for you. And these are centered around courses which are focused on Red Hat technologies. Akash, could I have the next slide, please? Before we dive into the webinar, I want to take a few minutes just to do a quick round of introductions to ourselves and the organization. My name is Ashish Sabarwal, and I head industry partnerships for Nasscom Sector Skills Council. I want to take a few minutes just to give a background to Nasscom and the Nasscom Sector Skills Council before we dive into the webinar. As most of you are probably aware, Nasscom is the IT industry body. It was set up about 35 years ago in 1988 with the sole objective of trying to promote IT, ITS as an industry in our country, which means that we work both with the IT industry as well as with government bodies, agencies, policy bodies for the benefit of the industry and the Indian economy at large. We do this by working on various policy initiatives with the government and the industry. And one of our major focus is also on talent development. This webinar that you are experiencing today is part of that initiative of talent development that we as Nasscom Sector Skills Council hold. Next slide, please. So because it's such an important agenda for us, we recognize that technology today is basically omnipresent. It is not just the IT industry that creates and uses technology, but technology is now used across each and every industry that exists in different ways. There is a requirement that at a very basic level, we work on making sure that the population at large is digitally fluent. They understand basic digital and IT terminologies so that they're familiar with it, irrespective of which field they work in. We also want to make sure that beyond that, people are able to develop professional skills and deeper skills around technology. And because we are a platform that exists for social good, we want to make sure that we try and get this across to all the learners at large in as economical and affordable way as possible, while at the same time ensuring this is a trustworthy platform. Next slide, please. So we know that there is a huge opportunity ahead of us as a country. We can grow to $1 trillion digital economy. We also understand that to get there, there is, of course, a huge requirement of talent. And today we call it what's known as a skills gap. And webinars like these and the initiatives that Nasscom Sector Skills Council's platforms create are essentially to fill up this digital talent gap. The solution to this, of course, is that we have this massive thrust of outreach, of creating events, platforms where we can reach out to learners like yourself in the hope that some of the technologies we present to you will be of interest to you and you would like to take them up and skill yourselves further within them. Next slide, please. Nasscom Sector Skills Council was actually formed under the umbrella of NSDC, which is the National Skills Development Council under the Ministry of Skills Development and Entrepreneurship. We then created a partnership with the Ministry of IT, and that led to the creation of the platform called FutureSkills Prime. For those of you who haven't visited FutureSkills Prime, the URL is futureskillsprime.in. And a number of our publicly available, democratically available courses are on this platform. It's both a combination of free as well as paid courses. It's a combination of generic courses, which are for information, as well as courses which have certifications aligned with them. So I would encourage you to please jot down that URL, futureskillsprime.in. And if you haven't yet visited it, please do visit it, because the courses we will talk about today are also available on this platform. Next slide, please. So today, while we will be focusing on Red Hat, I do want to take a minute to say that we have a number of our industry partners whose programs and courses are available. These are ranging from Salesforce to AWS to Google Cloud to Microsoft to Datamatics to Accenture, Adobe, Cisco, and so on. And next slide, please. We have a number of them which are currently under integration. So programs like those from ServiceNow, VMware, and so on and so forth. Next slide, please. So the journey is very simple. If you'd like to start this journey with us, you need to go to futureskillsprime.in. You need to log in. If you are a beginner, you can start by doing some of the initial fundamental courses, right? These are centered around digital fluency. And of course, these lead to the foundation courses, which also have certificates and badges associated with them. These badges you can digitally display on your digital profiles, which could be, for example, say LinkedIn. Once you have the foundations in place, you can go further and build your expertise by taking deep skilling pathways and earn Nasscom certifications. Of course, when you do programs for our OEMs, you're also free to go and pursue certifications that are offered by our OEMs, which is all these global technology providers. And of course, last but not the least, once you have the certification in place, we also try and connect you to employment opportunities, and we'll see that in a minute. Next slide, please. The platform has been a huge success so far. We have over 1.3 million learners who have signed up on FutureSkills Prime across the country. This is for learners in India at the moment. There are more than 72 lakh badges which have been awarded on course completion. There is 5.66 lakh enrollments for courses on emerging technologies and professional skills. And there are about 3.75 lakh learners who have already enrolled for courses which are aligned, right? By aligned, I mean that we also take the effort to make sure that the content that we put up there talks to the National Occupational Standards, which are created along with us by the industry. So you can be rest assured that the courses that you consume are actually required by the industry and the industry endorses them. Next slide, please. This was what I was talking to you about, that once you actually do your certifications, there are a number of employability connect initiatives that we also run on FutureSkills Prime. We have a Talent Connect portal where you can allow us to share your profile with potential employers. They can also view your profile. We do conduct career fairs from time to time, and also working through universities and colleges, through the placement training offices. From time to time, we create initiatives that allow you to access job opportunities. Next slide, please. Today, of course, I want to focus on what we are all here for, is one of our key alliances and associations, and this is with Red Hat. We very proudly announced this association a little earlier in the year, towards February. And since then, we have been able to bring on board 6 courses from Red Hat. We will be conducting a series of 3 webinars, the first of which is today. I want you to please remember that these are sequential webinars, which means they're not repetitions. So if you want to make the most of the series, please attend all 3. And towards the end of this webinar, we will give you the date for the next one. But since you're here today, I want you to please bear this in mind, that it is important that you attend all 3 to gain insight into all the 6 courses offered by Red Hat, which can help build an amazing career for you when you step out into the workforce, or if you decide to set up your own venture as well. I'm also very excited to announce a very special offering for everyone who's attending today. Red Hat has kindly agreed to give 10 scholarships to students who, for whom we will attend an assessment, for whom we will conduct an assessment for everyone who attends all the 3 webinars. This will be announced at the end of our 3rd webinar. So which is why I would request you to please make sure you attend all 3 of them. And we will request you to stay tuned, because we will be sharing with you details about these 10 scholarships as well. With that, I would like to also take a brief minute to introduce the team that we have from Red Hat, our colleagues. And I would like to start by introducing Mr. Sanjay Srivastava. He's the head of Public Sector Asia Pacific Customer Success, which is for all of Red Hat's training and certification work. Sanjay is an industry veteran. He has almost 30 years, 29 plus years of experience, obviously spanning education, training, and learning. He's worked together with various governments in APAC, India, of course, but also Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, Korea. He's also led a lot of the state initiatives in India, working with the governments of Andhra Pradesh, Kerala, Rajasthan, and many, many more. Of course, he also works closely with the central government for their requirements for creating India into a digital talent hub. Followed by Sanjay, we would be having Mr. Sanju Raj, also from Red Hat. Sanju is a Red Hat certified instructor and consultant with 14 years of technical and training experience in Linux and open source technologies. He's very passionate about delivering solutions and trainings based on open source and emerging technologies. Mainly, he focuses on Red Hat OpenShift and Red Hat Ansible platform. I will not take more of your time. With that short introduction, I'm very pleased to invite Mr. Sanjay Srivastava. Sanjay, over to you.
Thank you so much, Ajish, and good evening to everybody who is attending this webinar. And it's lovely to catch up with each one of you. So coming, and thank you for a lovely introduction, Ashish. So now talking about, let me share my screen with you. And hope my screen is visible to everybody.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks, Ash. Coming to what exactly that I'm going to talk about is more from the perspective of why open source, why it is important for your growth sustenance, and how it is relevant for you, and how can you enhance your employability, and why it is important for you to enhance your employability with open source. So, so that is what I would not want to take you through Red Hat. Hopefully, and I'm confident that most of you would be knowing about Red Hat. And just to give you a brief, Red Hat is the world's leading provider of enterprise open source solutions. and we work with almost all the Fortune 500 companies. We are a $6 billion organization. And as of today, since we are a IBM company, so we don't share our financials separately. But just for your information, I'm sharing that we are a $6 billion open source company. And we are also having around 19,000 people, a strong workforce which are there. We are present in 40 countries. We have almost 105 locations that we have our offices. And so that's the kind of company that we are representing. What I look after, as Ashish mentioned, is I look after the workforce development program for Asia Pacific, and I work with the government, the academia, as well as the students, and that is you. So, and that is why I'm here to interact with you. Coming back to the topic, and if you want to know more about Red Hat, please visit our website, www.redhat.com. And you will get more details about Red Hat, but let me take you through what I'm here for. And so coming to this, the first thing that I would want to share with you is that you have an opportunity ahead of us. At the same point of time, you also need to have a fear among yourselves that if what we are doing today may not be relevant tomorrow. And so we have to have our skills upgraded with the latest technologies that are there and perform. And so enhance our career and upskill our career and for a better employability. So as per the World Economic Forum report, which is there, by 2025, there are 97 million new jobs are going to be created. And that is a good sign for each one of you. So you have a huge opportunity. For the existing who are already among the workforce, the challenge is that there is a possibility, or there's I would say a survey which says that 85 million jobs are going to be displaced by machines. And whether you are aware or not aware, recently, some 2 months back, British Telecom has already announced that they will be displacing around 55,000 jobs in the next decade. And that's the challenge that lies ahead of each one of us. Now, when you are moving into the career, how is the workforce going to look like? And this, I'm talking about India. 9% would be deployed in jobs that do not exist today, and that's the scenario. 37% would be deployed in jobs that have radically changed the skill sets, which means that you need to acquire new skills. And if you want to be among the 9%, then you have to acquire very, very skills, the new technology skills, which is going to take you much, much ahead of others. And 54% are going to fall under unchanged job category. So whatever that is happening today, whatever that we are learning today, we will fall among the 54%, and we can be one of the workforce among those with these skill sets. So whether you want to be among the 37% or 9%, you need to decide yourself and acquire relevant skills. Skill transformation is something which is a continuous need. So and that's the requirement. It was a requirement of yesterday, and it is a requirement of today as well. Technology is always evolving. There is a new software versions which get released. There are need for product knowledge changes, and new products are adopted. And why I'm talking about this is because your curriculum cannot keep on changing the way the technology is upgrading and updating itself. Because just to give you just a glimpse of it, it takes minimum of 3 years to design a new curriculum and implement across our education system. And if you would be aware of the NEP 2020, the National Education Policy that has come in 2020, the implementation is going to happen for the next 10 years, and that is, it has to be implemented by 2030. So with a diverse country like ours, it takes time to implement things. And that's the reason you will have to learn something and few things on your own. The future of communication technology. And so I'm talking right now, the communication technology, because some of you would be from communication ICT background as well. And so augmented reality is going to be the thing for tomorrow. Internet of Things, smart wearables, everything is going to come in your palm top, or it is going to be worn on your wrist. And the haptic technology, that is, these are the technologies of ICT, which are going to be, which is the future. With respect to the ICT, if we look at artificial intelligence, cognitive technologies and applications, transformative computing, blockchain technology, data mining, smart applications, all these are the technologies which you need to learn. Now, there are going to be 4 kind of people, and how they fit today and how they need to, the future digital skill needs are there. So whosoever is currently digitally skilled workers who are there, so they are already applying digital skills in their jobs today, but they need to enhance proficiency in current skills and expand the current competencies. The current, and this would be relevant for most of you because you are going to be future workers. And so what you are learning today, you will enter the workforce in future. And so you need to gain in demand digital skills to boost employability. And the skills that I was talking about in the previous slide are going to be in demand tomorrow for you. Now, since Red Hat is an open source company, I would like to share with you as why open source, and you will find whichever sector it is, whether it is cybersecurity, whether it is marketing technology, whether it is financials, whether it is retail, everywhere 50% of the average code base comprises of open source. And this I'm talking about a data of 2019. If we talk about today, because of the pandemic, a lot of things have changed and there is acceleration in digital transformation. So open source is having more and more I would say open source is everywhere now. Whether it is you keep watching Netflix, you watch Disney Hotstar, it is on open source. You book your tickets on IRCTC, it is on open source. Or on Indigo you use, it is on open source. Aadhaar is another one which is there. Airtel, all the 3 telecommunication companies are using open source, as well as DigiLocker, and means e-governance is totally on open source. Coming to the technologies where open source skills are in demand, if you look at the cloud and container technologies, that's the technology which has got the highest number of demand. Then comes Linux, then comes DevOps, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, machine learning, web technologies, blockchain. And so these are the technologies which any one of them you can decide and you can learn. The kind of job openings, and this data is as of today morning. And if we look at cloud jobs, and I'm talking only about Naukri.com, there are 84,000 cloud jobs which are available today, open today on Naukri. Linux jobs are around 25,000, DevOps is around 23,000, Kubernetes around 13,000, Ansible jobs are around 38,000. This is some median incomes, and this is of US data. India, it would be a little much less, but if we look at the IT job incomes in India, this is how it looks like. Okay, and almost around 4.29 lakhs per year is what average Linux system administrator salary in India is. And this we are talking about the average. Your hireability is going to depend onto your ability, and that's very, very important. So whether you are a cloud native app developer, or you want to learn artificial intelligence, machine learning, or analytics, Internet of Things, Linux, containers, Kubernetes, and hybrid cloud are the key ingredients for any one of these. So whether you get into any technology that you want to learn, these are the base, the foundation that you need to learn, which basically Sanju is going to talk more about it. And we have a RHA talent network, just like Nasscom also has a talent network. We also have a talent network, which is basically a platform wherein all certified students of who are part of the Red Hat Academy program, they can list their CVs, and the organizations also listed, and there is a marriage which happens on that platform. So the need for open source talent is here. And so it is very, very important for each one of you to be open source specialist, at least. We are talking about the NSQF aligned courses, and this is the first time in India it has happened that any of the global curriculum, and Red Hat being, we can boast of that with the support of Nasscom, Red Hat is the first OEM to have the global curriculum courses on the National Skills Framework. And so, which means that whatever that you are learning on the FutureSkills Prime platform also, with respect to Red Hat, you are learning the global curriculum, and which will make you earn credits, academic credits, as well as 2 of the courses are also eligible for Government of India incentive. So that's the advantage, that's the advantage of learning Red Hat courses. And so that's all from my side. And I would like Sanju to take over and take you through the session, the most of the session that he has to cover. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sanjay.
Thank you, Sanjay. Before Sanjay, you start, just a quick word to all the participants. Firstly, thank you so much for your questions. Please keep them coming. We'll keep answering them as we are doing. On the Zoom window, you will find a Q&A button. So you can click on it and you can submit your questions. We'll answer them as we go along. You don't have to wait till the end of the webinar to ask your questions, right? And with that, Sanju, over to you. Thank you so much, Sanjay, for the introduction.
Thanks, Sanjay and Ashish. Let me share my screen now.
Sanju, you'll have to be a little bit louder.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Sanju, while he's sharing the screen, Sanju will walk us through, like I mentioned, we're doing a series of 3 webinars. There are 6 courses on offer from Red Hat on FutureSkillsPrime.in. Today, we'll be covering 2 of those courses. So each of these 3 webinars has different topics. It's not the same webinar. Now, to make the most of the journey in open source, I would request that you please attend all 3 of them. And like I mentioned, at the end of the 3rd webinar, we will be sharing with you an assessment, like a quiz. And whoever are the top performers, they will be offered 10 scholarships from Red Hat as well. Everybody else can also, of course, do the course. But for the top 10, we will be offering a scholarship as well. Sanju, over to you.
Thanks, Ashish. Hope my screen is visible.
Yeah, Sanju, you still need to be a little bit louder,
Okay.
A little bit more louder.
Okay. So the topic which we are going to talk about is the Red Hat platform for your data center, where I think the voice is okay now.
Little better, but it's echoing. So if you can maybe hold the mic close to you, I think that might.
I will try to do that. Okay. So the topic, as we said, is about how Red Hat is being used in our data centers. Now, when we talk about Red Hat technology, the learning method which we use is purely based on some aspects. Now, what are those aspects? How do we entertain? So that's where we mostly focus on hands-on. You learn a theory, but you also learn about to implement those changes on the fly. So we provide you with an environment where you can perform those activities and learn the skills and master them. So this helps us to get expertise on that particular product. As the material which we are required to present, post-COVID, we started giving the PDF or ebook format of the content so that you can download and use that material which is being developed in a systematic way. We have courses in which we will have instructors who can demonstrate the things, who can show the things to you, explain as well. We also have self-paced learning technologies also presented. So it's instructor-led or instructor video recorded contents that are only available as a training components. When we come on to the learning part, we also say about that how do you prove you have learned or you know this technology. So that's where you try to go with any kind of certifications or preliminary exams. Now, in case of Nasscom, we know we have provided you with some quizzes that will help you to add the academic credits, which will help you to get that extra credits easily. The courses which we have developed, they are also having video series wherein you can go with the learning subscription to learn and experience the Red Hat products. Now, when I say Red Hat product, it means there are, as Sanjay did mention, that we are on most of the sectors. You talk about you talk about telecom, you talk about banking, you talk about finance. In all of them, our presence is already there. So these courses are also focused on those technologies which are used by these industry standards. All the materials which we provide to you is an easy way through which you can download the content and use. That is, sitting at your home comfort, you can actually log into our online portal, which is rol.redhat.com. From there, you can download the ebook which you require. You will also have the lab environment where you can actually practice those things. So students learn the content based on his self-pace. You see the progress which you are making one by one. Each chapter which we have over there will be talking about a technology. Once that discussion is done with respect to technology, you will have a quiz, or you will have a match the following, or you will have a guided exercise, which means we provide you with the information what you need to do. And at the end of the chapter, we have a lab exercise that will be used to reinforce the thing. Now, the lab exercises will not be containing solutions. Okay, it will be presented later on. But what's our objective is, once you have understood the chapter content, you should be able to do the lab without seeing the solution. And that in that way, you get yourself expertise with the content. And when we talk about exams, we do have different forms of exams available. One of them is your classroom exam, where you have to go to the training center and attend the exam. Therein, you may be, there will be multiple people who will be simultaneously attending the exam along with you. Apart from that, we do have individual exams. Now, in individual exam, there are two forms which we are having. One of them is you visit a training partner which has the COLA facility, which is an individual exam, proctored, monitored exam which you can attend. Otherwise, you also have the second option wherein you can write an exam at the comfort of your home. Now that came into being after COVID hit her. So at that time, we were actually worried, how the students will be giving the exam, and we brought up this remote exam concept, wherein you can sit at your home comfort and you can decide on which day, which time you want to give the exam. Third one is the preliminary exam. These are
Sanju, can I just interrupt you? Sorry for a minute.
Yeah,
I think some of the audience is saying that your sound is a little muffled. It's coming, but your sound is a little muted. Maybe do you want to try speaking into the laptop once, if that's better?
Okay, I can try that.
Just try that once, because I just want to make sure that, there's a lot of valuable information you're giving. I just want to make sure everybody's able to hear you well.
Okay.
So while it's coming, it's not that we can't hear you, but it's a little bit like you're distant and echoed, right? So I just want to make sure it's loud and clear. So can you just try using the microphone of your laptop? Maybe that might work better. Let's just take a minute to try that, because otherwise, there's a lot of information you're sharing that might get lost.
Okay, just a second.
Sorry, apologies to interrupt your flow.
No issues, no issues, no issues. Am I audible now?
Yeah, maybe if you can speak into the microphone. Yeah.
Yeah, so is it now echoing also, or it's okay now?
It's a little bit better. Maybe if you can be seated close to the laptop and speak into it, that'll help. Yeah.
Let me just pull it. Okay, so I was talking about the preliminary.
This is much better. This is much better. So please, if you can just speak as loud as you can.
Sure. So we were talking about the preliminary exams. Now, this is one of the exams which anyone can take up to grasp or understand or gauge their expertise on that particular topic. So it may be a cloud or it may be a system administration exam. So it's not the real exam, but it will help you to prepare for your certification exams, which are global recognized one. The PE series exams are used to test your skills before you plan for any kind of certification exams. So those are the different forms of exams which we are having. And the course which we are currently focusing it on is the core system administration courses. In this course, we actually consider it could be a candidate who is very much new to Linux. He does not know anything about Linux, or it could be a guy who is already knowing Unix, or he has used Unix or any kind of Solaris or any kind of Linux-based systems earlier, but he wants to make an expertise on it. So here we teach you about how you can become a full-time core system administrator. Now, as Sanjay mentioned that if you take any of those IT industries, you will find for them, the base foundation is about Linux. So that's why these particular course, the core system administration courses, are very much important. We have got Red Hat System Administrator Part 1, which is having the SQU, that is the code, which is RH124, which is the foundation one, where we introduce you with the fundamentals. Red Hat System Administration Part 2, which is RH134. Now, this is a little bit advanced one. So if we have learned about the basics on the first one, here we expect that the candidate knows certain things about the basis, and then we can expertise more. Now, as we are living on the automation world, we should know how to automate the things. So that's where our third module, RS System Administration Part 3, comes into picture. It is about Linux automation, and we are introducing you to the tool set called as Ansible. So that will be the tool which you will be using for most of the automation tasks. So we are going to start with our course curriculum informations. There are 6 courses, as Sanjay did mention, that is being added to Nasscom. Here we have just presented you with 5 of them, mentioning about which course and which is a certification exam which you can go with, along with the information about in which version of Red Hat Enterprise Linux these courses have been designed up. So we have got Red Hat System Administration Part 1, which is RH124, which we mostly conduct in a full day class in 5 days. We do have Red Hat System Administration Part 2, which is RH134. It's also being conducted on 5 days. Sorry. After completing of these 2, you need to go with an expertise exam. So we have got Red Hat Certified System Administrator exam, which is called with EX200. It's a 3-hour exam where we test your skills for managing multiple Red Hat systems. So you will have systems where you will be required to perform hands-on activities. Maybe you may be required to create a user. You may be required to start a service. So how do I start a service? So now if you have learned those basics and you have expertise and you have gone through the content, you should be able to clear that exam easily. As of now, the version of the exam is on version 9.0, which is your Red Hat Enterprise Linux 9 as the operating system being used. We also have got Red Hat System Administrator Part 3, Linux Automation course, which is also again done in full day class format in 5 days. Exam for the automation, we call it as Red Hat Certified Engineer exam, or we call it as RHCE, which is around 4 hours exam. It also uses your Red Hat Enterprise Linux operating system version 9. As Sanjay did mention earlier that, okay, nowadays, the majority of people are using the technology of containers. So that's going to the future. So we do have a course, a foundation course on that as well, which is Red Hat OpenShift Part 1, Containers with Podman. It's also a 3-day course, sorry, where we teach you about how you can create a container, how you can run a container. The entire life cycle of a container is being discussed. So if we want to have our own container being created, how do I create that? How do I make it available for others to use? All such informations are discussed in the initial part of this particular module. Apart from this, it also takes you to the introduction to Kubernetes and OpenShift, where you get a view about or understanding about why these technologies are going to be the hot cake in the market now. For this DO 180, we do have an exam. After clearing the exam, you will get a TAG, which is your Red Hat Certified Specialist in Containers exam. This is a 2.5 hours exam in which we will be testing your knowledge on how to manage a container, how to create a container, how to make that application running inside a container to be made available for users to use. So this was the foundation courses and their certification exams, which we should be aware about. As we have enrolled ourselves with or associate ourselves with Nasscom, we do have a quiz series presented to you to learn not only the technology of core administration, but others also. We also want you to check your knowledge. And to check your knowledge, we have presented you with some quizzes, which you can do to enhance and know where you stand with the knowledge related to system administration. Once you are okay with that, you can always go with EX200 exam, which is your Red Hat Certified System Administrator exam. So as I did say, if we want to have some basic understanding before starting with this, we also provide you with a free RH024 course, which is Red Hat Enterprise Linux Technical Overview course, which gives you a hint on what to be expected in RH124 or 134 module. With these modules, you will become an expert on managing your Red Hat Enterprise systems in any environment. So as we did mention, the first course is always important. So the first course is your title with Red Hat System Administrator Part 1, which has a code RH124. Now, for this course, we consider that the candidate may be a new student. He may be a new pass out from a college, or maybe he's a student who is using Linux as part of his curriculum. Or it could be a administrator who is already working, maybe a Windows administrator, maybe a Unix administrator, or maybe a Solaris administrator. Now, this course is going to provide them with the required skills so that they can efficiently and securely manage any Red Hat systems. Herein, the importance will be given on how the user's existing infrastructure and how the Linux systems actually work. They can compare and learn the things easily. So if I'm already having an experience on administration, I would like to know how it is different from Windows administration, which I'm doing. So here, while we are teaching or introducing you to those technologies, we will have a comparison. And during the comparison, you will learn the importance of Red Hat Enterprise Linux and why we consider it as the most secure operating systems and how we can use different types of storage solutions. Okay, so here we will be learning about Red Hat. We will learn about Linux, why Linux has to be used. Now, all of us may be using Android or Apple phones. The operating system is actually developed on Linux. So you could notice that the technology which was used earlier has been changed. So we introduce you to about what Red Hat Enterprise Linux is all about. How do you run the commands? Now, thinking of the commands, you may be worried, oh, I have to memorize all these commands. No need. We do provide you with options through which you can easily understand those commands. Also, we do have the web GUI-based components available. So you can do the things from the web console or the GUI environment as well. But majority of the things we recommend you to do from the command lines. So we will be introducing you how the command line could be used across by different peoples. We will learn about how to create and manage the files. Now you created a file. Is it been available for me or is it available for everyone in the system? Can I protect it? Those are some things, right? We have to think about. So in your mobile phone also, when you are putting some content or you install some application, they may ask you, okay, please provide the permissions. And you just do click on button yes and you proceed. But should I do that or not? So we understand those concepts over here. Okay, if I give this permission, what will happen? Manage users, groups, and user security policies. Should the user be allowed to perform different tasks? If yes, what tasks should be allowed? What are the tasks which should not be allowed? Okay, now these are some informations which are covered inside the RH124 course. There are other things also which we are going to learn. One of them is about how to manage the system services. Oh, my operating system is running, so it may be running different processes. Now, to manage those processes, there will be different services available. So, as a user, will I be able to manage, or do I require some additional administrative privileges? If yes, how you can grant them? How you can manage those services? How you can access the machines? Now, when I say about machines, oh, we double click on the machine, on the login window, we give the username and password, we can log. That is direct login to a system. But let's say I want to remotely access that systems. Is it possible? Yes. What technology do you use? We talk about SSH, secure shell, which uses a username and a password or username or a token to allow you to access that machine from a remote systems. And what you can do all your normal activities, day-to-day activities of managing that system. Configure network interfaces and settings. Now, to interact that system, you always require an interface. If you think about this machine as a web server, to allow you to access the web page, this machine should be connected to internet. How it is going to connect? You require a medium. That medium will be connected to a physical interface, which is present on my laptop. Now, how do we configure the IP for that? How do we set those things? Those are the things which we will be learning inside this particular. Then we are talking about managed softwares. So security is always important. So what we need to do, we have to make sure that all our machines are up to date. And that is being done with the help of our tool, which we call it as DNF or YAM. So here we'll be learning about how to make our systems more updated and secure-free. So this is the contents which we are learning from the foundation or the base course. Then once we are done with that, we come to the second track where we assume you already have got the basic foundations. Now we should go into the advanced one. Now in advanced one, we make sure that you acquire the skills which a senior or a level 2 administrator will have. He should know how to install Red Hat Enterprise Linux, how to use the security features in Red Hat Enterprise Linux, how to have some kind of scheduled task being created, what is the boot process the system takes. In case system goes into troubleshooting, how do we help it to come back alive? What is the rescue mechanism we have to use across? We also talk about system performance or system tuning. Because if my system is running 10,000 processors, my system should have the capacity also, and it has to perform the things better, so that all the applications which I'm going to serve within it should be addressable by different users. So how that could be done? If my system performs in an optimized manner. Then we are also introducing you to the command line automation and productivity. So using which you can actually improve or enhance your Linux skills. So in 134, we will be learning about what are the different ways through which we can install Red Hat Enterprise Linux. Earlier days, we used to have a floppy disk or CD drive or USB to install. But is it the way we do it on productions? No, you have used different methods. So we will be introducing you with the remote installation method called as Kickstart. So how the Kickstart could be used across to provision the machines. We learn about the file securities. Now, when you say file securities, oh, you have created a file, the file is owned by you, no one else will have an access. But what about the administrator of that host? He can access your machine. So how do I restrict it? What is the mechanism which I can use? We introduce you with that. We introduce you with file system concept. Now, in all our systems, if we have used Windows before, we may be knowing about, we have got C drive, D drive, right? Wherein we actually have the operating system and the files which we want to store. Now, in Linux, if you want to use any kind of content, that has to be mounted and made available inside your system. And for mounting it up, we require a file system name. So we learn about how that file system is being created, how you can mount it, how you can use it. Now, this could be a local disk component, or it could be coming from a shared drive. So if it's coming from a shared drive, I have to mount it through a network, right? So we'll define how you can have that component being mounted that is being coming from a shared environment. We also teach you about the shell scripting, because when we are working with enterprise Linux, there could be possibilities we are required to do repetitive tasks. So rather than doing that mundane task, what we can do, we can create a shell script and we can use that shell script as a scheduled task to do our automation work or the normal daily activities. We can easily do that with the help of shell scripts. We also learn about how to manage our storage devices, our logical volumes, and file system. Now, when we think about logical volumes, it's like you have got a normal disk. Now, once you use that particular disk, if the space of that disk increases, what you used to do earlier, you used to replace that disk. Now, this is like a logical component which allows you to extend the size or shrink the size based on your requirement. So these features have already been added to our Windows as well as Linux environment. So over here in Linux, we will learn about how to use the concept of logical volumes, how to format and use it across. We will be also introducing you to the security aspects in much more advanced way. We said about the file securities, but we didn't talk about the kernel securities. So what kind of security does your Linux kernel provides? We learn about them. We learn about the boot process, where we understand, oh, system boots in this particular manner. If something goes wrong, what is the location or what is the file which can help us to understand where the system went down, what was the reason behind it, and how we can recover from that. We also talk about running continuous. Now, earlier, if you remember, Sanjay did mention that people are nowadays moving on to continuous, because all these applications, whether it's your IRCT application, which you are using for booking your train tickets, or you are using Indigo to book your air flights. All these are going to run in OpenShift. They are running in OpenShift, which is running your applications in the form of containers. So the containers are going to be the future. And we need to know and understand how the containers are going to work around. So over here, I just want to take one more minute to talk about how our classroom environment looks like. And I will demo one of the things which is important or easy for you to understand how we will be taking up the classes. Now, as I did mention, we do have our own online way of providing the classes. It is accessed using rol.redhat.com. So once you log in over there, you will have the class environment information available within it. You can click on the join button. When you click on the join button, it will provide you with the lab tab, wherein you can see the lab environment. Okay, the lab environment which you can use and provision. You will have resources from where you can download the ebook. Now, this will provide you with an interface through which you can have the PDF being downloaded. Once the PDF is downloaded, you can always use it within your environment. So over here, you can see there are some set of machines which we can always use across to work. Okay, so as a part of the demonstration, which I thought I should take up just to give you a hint on how containers can run and how they can make use of, I'm taking you to my local machine, which is also based on Red Hat systems itself. Oh, sorry, no, Red Hat, it's Ubuntu-based system. Just give me a couple of minutes. Once this particular machine starts up, I should be able to demonstrate that one. In between, if you have got any queries, feel free to ask them.
Yes, so Sanju, I'm going to read off one query that we have from Prateek Das. Prateek Das is asking, how is this different? How this differs from cloud computing and DevOps? And we had another query. I'll just put both of the questions to you. Is that how do you run Red Hat on VMs? I'm assuming that's virtual machines.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so to answer the first question, which was related to cloud computing and DevOps. Now, in order to do the cloud computing or DevOps, you require to know the knowledge on Linux, because in order to build the cloud, you need to have some foundation operating system to be used. And that's where Red Hat Enterprise Linux comes as a base for you. On top of that, you will be actually installing the required cloud providers or cloud utility. As an example, we do give you a course which is CL 110 rated 1, which is OpenStack cloud provider provided by Red Hat. In case of DevOps, in order to have the DevOps to work in your industries, they need to use their systems to connect to different environments. And in order to connect to them, they should know the basic administration skills. They should know how to use Git. So how I could use Git? I should know how to install Git. Where is Git installed? It's been installed on your systems. You can interact with that. You want to do automation. As I said, in automation or in DevOps, there are a lot of different types of tool sets available, but it's not the tool alone. You need to know something apart from that as well, which are different practices. Now, when you think about the tools, majority of the tools which you are going to use, whether it's the configuration management related one, whether it's related to your provisioning, whether it's related to your checking on the version controlling systems, all these are going to use your Linux as the base. So without that basic knowledge, you may not be able to sustain inside the DevOps industry. Okay, so that was the answer for the first one. The second one, as I did mention, in the RH134 course, we teach you about how to install. Now, in the installation process, we teach you about how to create a VM. In that VM, you will learn about how I can have an ISO being used across to do the installation, how I can use the PXC way of installation, the way the kickstart is going to be used. We teach you that as well. So what is the primary requirement for creating a virtual machine? We give you first information related to that, and then we say, okay, these are the prerequisites. You need to ensure these are installed. For example, if I'm doing it on my machine, I may require KVM, which is a kernel-based virtual machine environment. I need to install that software. Once that software has been installed, I will create a VM. Inside the creation of the VM, I need to select an operating system, right? So that's where I will be selecting the operating system as Red Hat and provide it a source. Which source? It can be an ISO, it can be my USB stick, it could be a remote installation server which is serving that image for me. So when you do those things, practically, you will understand it much more better. So in our course, we do ensure that what all things you will be doing it in production, you get the feel of that when you are undergoing the course itself.
Sanju, one more question we'll take live before you show the lab environment. This question is from Arpreet Singh, and Arpreet Singh is asking, sir, can we use Red Hat Linux on-site premise as well as cloud?
Yes, you can. We don't say that you have to, you can use it only on your local laptops. You can use it anywhere.
All right, great. Let's move to the lab environment.
Yeah, so I'm sorry to interrupt, Ashish. I thought since the machine has come up, let's go with the flow.
All right.
Okay, so here, this will be the lab environment which you will be getting. So majority of time people are scared. Linux, oh, it will be all the black color window and they will not be, there will be only commands which I need to know. Okay, now you could notice here itself, it's a graphical environment. I could see the username. We can click on that particular username. We can provide the information about the password which this user can use. And what you will notice, that system takes you to the desktop environment. Now, by default, the Genome desktop, which we are using, does not show any kind of icons on the desktop environment. So seeing this black color window, you may think, oh, he is showing me the black color window. He said that, no, we will not be using terminals. So now you can see, we do have applications available which you can access. You can use the text editors. You can use the file managers to see which all files are there. Just like you have got the file navigator in Windows. Just like you have got file manager inside your mobiles, right? We also can work with our terminal environment. So we do have both the ways in which we can perform the things. Now, if you notice, I was logged in as a user who has a name. So I'm just increasing the font so that it will become much more visible to the people. So I'm logged in here as a student account on my system. What is my system? What is my system's host name? It tells me, oh, your host name is workstation.lab.example.com. What I can do inside the system, I can create a file. How do I create a file? There are multiple ways to do it, right? So let's say, I will say, use a keyword echo. This is a command which tells you what to perform. So whatever you input as a string, that is going to be displayed. So let's say, for example, I give it as Nasscom. And what you notice, it is getting printed on the screen. But can I save it as a file? Yes. You can use the redirector and say that I want a file to be created, which is called as nasscom.txt. Now, if I take you to the GUI, can you see that file is there? Can I edit the file? Okay, I can do the saving. I can hit the file. The file is being updated, and we can validate whether the file is being updated or not. So you find that it is not only user-friendly in the sense, even if I type EC and press the tab keys, what do you see? Auto completion. So with fewer keystrokes, you will be able to perform much more. So that's one of the advantages which you have got with Linux. Now, before I conclude, I just wanted to show one demonstration on Podman or your containers, because now, as we said, it is going to the future. So we should know about how a container could be created, how I can run it. So to run a container and use it across, we do provide you with a binary, which is available inside your run systems as a package, which is called as Podman, managing the pods. We can give the information that we want to run a container. So if my system already has some container or images available, that will be listed inside this particular location. If I have got any containers, you can see that information from here. I do not have any control. So if I want to run, I can use Podman run minus name to give the container a name. My container, I'm going to give a port which I can use to connect to that application, because my application will be running inside container. So how do I connect it from outside? I need a port forwarding. So we define the information about what is the port that the system has to open on the workstation node so that it can connect to the port of the container. The container port is also defined over there. And we mentioned that this has to be taken from a source. K.io, Red Hat training, hello world, Nginx v1.0. Now this is the name of the image which we will be using to create a container. Okay. So if there is no network glitch or something, I should have a container being started and it should be visible or available for me to see the content of the web page. So my container is running. I can confirm it with the podman ps command. It says, yes, it is up for 5 seconds. Now, how do I check that? So to checking that, I go to the machine on Firefox, launch the local host, colon 800808080 as the port, and I should be able to see the content which is hosted in my application. What you see? Hello world from Nginx. Now that's the container which is running inside our system. And you could notice it only took few seconds for that container to start. Now, when you think about the cloud or virtualized environment, in order to have such an environment being created, you will be required to do an installation of an operating system. It is time consuming, but here you notice it is being done within Q. Another advantage of using containers is that most of the time the people who have worked in production, they must have come across this scenario wherein the developer says, yeah, the application code was working fine in my system. When you put it in production server, it is not working. So that is the issue with your production system, right? So there was always a file. Now, in this case, there is no file because the container has been created with an image. That image is independent of the hardware or the platform. So you can use that same image in anywhere and you should be getting the same outputs. Okay, so this was a small demo which I did wanted to showcase so that they can know about how to work on Linux at a general. Over to you, Ashish.
Thank you so much, Sanju. I hope, to all the participants who are on the webinar, this was a useful introduction to the first 2 courses. Again, just to reiterate, this is a series of 3 webinars that we are doing. We are almost at the end of our first one, but I will request Akash to just share the information on the next 2 webinars. Before we move on, Sanju, just a couple of quick questions. So while I think Akash has answered them at a basic level, but there was one question which was asking for the difference between Ubuntu as well as Red Hat. So there's one participant who is a user of Ubuntu and wanted to know what's really the difference. So while, and I will leave it to you to answer in your words.
Okay. So thanks, Ashish. So by default, while I was trying to use my local system, he may have noticed that it was in Ubuntu. Okay, so I'm by default, I'm not a Ubuntu fan, but my original laptop, which was having Red Hat, got some issue. It was not having the mic being taken today. So that's the reason why I took someone else's machine to attend this particular webinar. So the basic difference is between the providers. Now, when you think about Ubuntu, it is a Debian-based system. Red Hat is much more secure than your Ubuntu because Ubuntu is focused mainly on the desktop environments. So they are desktop friendly. They are not meant for your server. Red Hat is an enterprise product which is meant to manage your servers. But can I use Red Hat as a desktop edition? Yes, you can. But you can see you will not find the look and feel which you have it inside Ubuntu in Red Hat, because we are providing you with a stable and secure system. We are not focusing on the look and feel or the exposure or the easyability of accessing that operating system. So when you think about security, go with Red Hat. When you think for the look and feel, you can go with any flavors.
Great. Thank you, Sanju. We'll take one more question or your viewpoint. Again, this is one that Akash has answered, but I think it'll be nice to get your viewpoint.
Okay.
So this question is from Rutuja Kulkarni, and Rutuja asks, can these courses be completed on a mobile?
Okay, so as I said, all these courses, you just need to have the role.redhat.com access, right? Now it has been an online portal. So whether you access it from the laptop, whether you access it from your mobile or from the tab, you can access.
Yeah.
It's
I
open,
guess
right?
I guess the difference is more on the ease of use, whatever the user is comfortable, in terms of screen sizes and, you might be doing labs, etc. So I think it's more a function of that, which is comfort rather than which device, right?
Yes, it can be anything.
Okay. Great. So I think we've come to the end. Let me just see the two more questions which just got asked. I think there are a lot of questions, and this is useful. Maybe if you can answer this, because AI has obviously captured the imagination of a lot of learners, and a lot of the questions that we got, centered about, what is the connect between this and AI? If AI is the newest flavor of technology that I should be adept at, is there any benefit of doing courses from Red Hat?
Okay, now when you say about the AI, it is actually going to use a lot of tools. How these tools are built, what is the background of this one? They are all using Python or any kind of Go languages. Now, if they are using Python, they require a platform where they can test it and use it. And the test base for that is your Linux. Now, why I'm saying so? Because initially I also had the same tendency of seeing in November that AI is going to take my job. It's going to teach the content automatically. So how I will be able to survive? Then I came to know, okay, what kind of tools they are using. Then I came to know, okay, it's already available in Linux. It's the foundation of this one. So once you learn about an operating system as Linux, you can actually convert that knowledge to develop new application easily, because those tool sets are available by default inside Linux systems. Let's say I want to run a Java application. You always require a runtime environment, right? So most of the time what you do, you will be required to install it yourself. But if I provide you with an environment which already has that tool sets, you don't have to worry. You can start with the next step straight away. So the user will be comfortable and the operating system is already stable. So we don't have to worry about security aspects. So the tools which we are going to use in AIs, which we come across, maybe it is your chatbot or your I forgot the name, Merlin. Merlin is one of the tools. You can use other tools like your GChat, which not GChat, what was the name? Chat GPT, sorry. So it's been built on your Python. So in order to run those Python applications and to get that accessibility, they are also running as continuous. So if you know about how to run, you know about how to use and survive inside the AI world.
All right. I think as we are closing, there are a few more questions popping up. So we'll try and take as many as possible because, if the questions are important for you, they're important for us. So we'll, try and answer as many as possible. So this question is from Chandrasekhar from, I think, NHVN. Can we do the practice of the troubleshooting of Linux systems in the lab environment provided during the course?
Yes. So if I take you to one of the curriculum modules, what we do is, even when the class hours is over, the machine will be in shut-off mode. You can see here stop and start, right? And you can see a timer which shows 10 hours. So after 10 hours, this machine will be automatically shut down. But let's say I want to do the practice later on. Yes, you can do. And while the guided exercise which we provide, we give the clear instructions about what is the objective behind this lab, what is the step that you are going to perform, and what is the command or the tool which you have to use to achieve that. We provide you with the set by set instructions about it. So if you give me a minute, I hope my system is already been shared and you are able to see. Okay.
Yes, it's visible.
So let me. I will just take one of the module just to show that how our labs are going to be created or it's being created. So for most of them, we will have the information about what is the outcome which we are going to achieve. So you now learned about that technology, and now you are working on a scenario in which we are planning to achieve something. Then we give the instructions on what is the things which you need to do. So if there is something which has to be created beforehand, is my system good enough to perform that? We may have some kind of lab script to validate that. And then we provide you with a set of instructions along with the commands which you need to run. So this gives a clear logic. Oh, I need to log into the cluster. How do I log in? Okay, this is the command which you can use to log in over there. Now, in each of these, you will have different subsections. It will have the explanation about each one of them. If I take you to the lab exercise, what you see, you have some agendas, you have some instructions without any solutions. So if you have gone to the guided exercises and the content which the trainer has or the instructor has taught you, you should be able to do this lab exercise without any solution, without seeing any solution. But in case you tried it and when we grade, you got something failed, no need to panic. You have the solution later on with each and every step. So you can check, cross-check that whether I did this correctly or this was a thing which was to be done in a different manner.
Okay, great. Thank you, Sanju. I'll just try and take a few quick questions online, and then I'm going to request Akash to talk about the next series of webinars. So question from Mohammad Naveed Saqib. He's asking how to access the learning content. Mohammad, like we said already in the beginning of the webinar, you can access these courses from FutureSkillsPrime.in. When you go there, please register with your email ID. Remember that from FutureSkills, very often we may direct you to the learning management system of our partners like Red Hat. Please make sure everyone is using the same email ID to register everywhere. Please ensure your email ID remains the same. Whatever it is, just use the same email ID everywhere. So that's how you can access these courses. I just want to again reiterate the scholarships that Red Hat has been kind enough to announce. Again, I'm reiterating, we're doing a sequence of 3 webinars. Akash will share with you the date of the next 2. Please attend all 3 because the content in all 3 webinars is different. It is for each of the different courses of Red Hat. We're not going to repeat this content again. At the end of the 3rd webinar, we will share with you a link to a quiz, right? And this is not a Red Hat quiz. It's not an open source quiz. It's a generic computing quiz. For the top 10 performers in that quiz, we will be having Red Hat give a scholarship for those 10 students, right? So my request to you is please stay with us, please stay tuned. These webinars are for your benefit, right? This is, if you're interested in learning about technology and a career in technology, and especially open source, like Sanjay covered earlier, impacts everything from banking to entertainment to services to utilities. Every company uses open source. Like he said, if you use Disney Hotstar to watch streaming content, Red Hat is being used. If you're booking a ticket in Indian Railways, you're using Red Hat open source. This is all prevalent. It's an in-demand technology. If you're interested, please don't miss out on these 3 webinars. We're trying to get the best experts from Red Hat to talk to you about these. If you start the journey and if you have any questions about the courses that you've started, you can ask those questions as well in the next webinar. We'll try our best to answer it. Akash, with that, over to you. Can you please tell everyone when the next webinar is, the next two, and how can they register for it if they haven't already?
So hello participants. So this webinar is a part of a masterclass which is brought to you by Red Hat in collaboration with FutureSkills Prime. So what we have done is we have three webinars. The first one was today. The next one is scheduled on the 10th of August 2023, next Thursday, from 3:30 to 5. And the third one is scheduled on the week after, Thursday, 17th of August 2023, from 3:30 to 5. I've posted the link to register for those webinars on the chat multiple times. So while the session is on, request you to please click on those links and register directly for the webinar. Just to reiterate, at the end of third webinar, we are going to share with you a short quiz, which is basically to check your knowledge on IT aptitude. And based on the results of that quiz, the top 10 learners will get the scholarships from Red Hat. Back to you,
All right.
Ashish.
Thank you so much. Sanjay, with that, perhaps a vote of thanks, if I can request you for all the participants, and then hopefully we will see them again in the second webinar.
Yeah, sure. And thank you so much, all the participants who have been attending, and thank you for your time. And I see a lot of them has been there for the complete duration of the webinar. And that is something which shows their interest. And what we want, the intent of this webinar was that to showcase to the students that what is the future which lies ahead of them. How can they get benefited with Red Hat technologies using the Nasscom FutureSkills Prime platform? The way the government is supporting the students' learning experience, as well as supporting them with the funding also. So the government is also very, very kind enough to support the students' learning in new age technologies. And so thank you so much, all the participants. Thank you, Ashish. Thank you, Sanju. Thank you, Dilip. Thank you, Akash. And thank you, everybody. And look forward to see you all in the next session on 10th of August, 3:30 p.m. India time. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.